Howdy folks, and welcome back again to the channel of the house that never sleeps. I just came in from outside, man. It's hot. It is hot outside. It's been hot big time today. Anyways, this video I'm going to show you the essentials tools that you have to have if you want to do your own fret work, fret job, fret dressing, leveling and dressing. I've had a lot of questions being asked on Facebook and messages to me about this and tools needed and just the bare necessities that they need to get by with to do their own frets on their own guitars or basses or mandolins or whatever has frets. Might have to fret a dobro sometime, you never know. The frets don't wear out on them, but they do pop out now and again. Anyways, I'm going to show you first, like I said, the bare necessities, the things that you must have to at least dress your own frets. And it's not the proper way to do it. This is a cheap way to do it, the first way. Then I'm going to show you all of the tools that you're going to need, or most of the tools that you'll need to really do an excellent fret job. I mean, right down to a flawless completed job, everything done. I'm going to show you everything you need for that, show you how to do it. This is not another fretting video. I don't even have a guitar on the bench. In fact, I have tools all over the place, but I'm going to show you these things. So first thing we'll start with, like I say, is the bare essentials that you need to do your own frets, just what you need to get the job half-assed done, but at least done, you know, without paying someone $100 and whatever dollars they charge. We'll talk about that too. Some luthiers in my area, I'm not mentioning any names because they know who they are, that do these half-ass fret jobs for people, and they charge them $150, you know, and it's just, I saw some of the work was just pitiful, man. It was unbelievable that person was charged that much money for such a fret job. Anyways, I'm going to show you the tools needed first, the very major ones that you need to even begin to think about fretting your own guitars, or anyone else's for that matter. So let me get the camera set in here over here on the bench, and I'll show you the tools I have laid out, tell you how everything steps to do your frets in. I'm going to explain the whole treatment, the whole fret dressing treatment here, the proper way, but I'm going to tell you how a lot of luthiers do it and charge people ridiculous amounts of money for it. So we're going to get into show you what tools that you have got to have even just to do your half-ass fret job, you know, and then I'll show you the tools you need to do everything. So let me reset the camera and get set up here on the bench, and we'll get started. Hold on. So like I say, I got a bunch of tools out all over the place here. Let me just get a few things out of the way real fast. Okay, the very first thing you are going to need when you start to do your own frets, or anyone else's, is a hammer, of all things. Imagine that. And you're thinking, why would I need a hammer to start a fret job? Well, you should inspect each fret very closely under high magnification. Go down both sides of the fret, you know, on both sides of the neck, all the way down the neck, and look and make sure the fret is properly seated into its slot. Sometimes the end of a fret will pop up. You know, if you do a fret leveling and dressing and all this on a fret that's popped up, and that guitar player comes down and hits that fret and presses down on it, most likely the fret's going to go down and it's going to be like a low fret. So you want to inspect the frets very closely, take a hammer and gently pick them in on both sides if they even look remotely pulled up or loose. That's what the hammer's for, okay? Next thing you are going to need probably will be a straight edge. Now you can get notched straight edge with, you cut out for the frets, to set over top of the frets for different scale lengths. I don't use that. I just use a regular straight edge. You know, does the job fine for me. And what you want to do is lay that on your frets, lay it right across your fingerboard, upright. Check it for flatness. You want it to be completely, perfectly flat with this straight edge. Okay? That's where this comes in. Or you may have an Allen head or a hex head or some kind of funky, it might be a nut on your truss rod. You know, different instruments are different things on them. I'm just using this as an explanation to give you an idea of what you're going to need. You're going to need some kind of wrench to adjust the truss rod so that this straight edge sets completely flat all the way up and down that neck. Trying to make sure I'm in the camera here, because you want the neck to be perfectly as flat and as straight as you can possibly get it. Okay? So there's two things you're going to need. Now, well, actually three things: the straight edge, a wrench, and a hammer. Next thing you're probably going to start off with is something that looks like this, and I hate it. It says Stu Mac on here. The prices are ridiculous, man, for this stuff. You can get them from the UK a lot cheaper from Crimson Guitars. That's all I'm allowed to say, but take my word for it. If you're going to get this stuff, go through them. Unless you want to pay an arm and leg and a left nut and a right eyeball and whatever else required. Anyways, all this is an old mill file that's with a piece of wood glued to it. That's all it is. This is what, once you have your neck flat, level with the straight edge, this is one of the files, the cheapest one actually probably, but it's still not cheap. Anyways, run it up and down all of the frets. Actually, you're going to need well, I don't have a blue magic marker. I have a black one here, but you would want a blue one or a red one, something you can see very good. And you want to mark across each fret, okay? Completely color it. Say if it's blue, it's what I recommend you use. Completely color each fret, okay? Magic marker, that's another thing you're going to need. Then you want to take this file, and sometimes it's nice to knock the nut out of the instrument so you can just file off into infinity. That's not necessary, but it makes the job a little easier sometimes if you can get the nut out without screwing up a bunch of stuff. So, anyways, take this fret, start running it up the fretboard or down it. This fret works in both directions, or file works in both directions, but pay attention to where your blue magic marker collars are coming off, because that's what you're going to see coming off as you file. The dents, if there's wear in the string and the frets, and the frets have little dents in them, you know, where the string goes against them, that's going to be the last part. You don't want to go any deeper or more. You don't want to take any more off those frets than that, the minimal amount possible. So anyways, you keep filing with this file until the blue on every fret is completely gone. Okay, and try to work the whole neck. Don't work in one area and then move down to the middle of the neck and then move over here and then move over on this side. Don't do that. Try to start up at the nut, file all the way down to the last fret, and you know, back up. And with this file you can go both ways. Back up to the nut, past the nut, all the way back down past the last fret. Watch, pay close attention to where the dents are in your frets, because like I say, that will be the last place the blue magic marker finally disappears as you're doing this. Alright, 10-4. Now, once you have flattened all your frets and they are completely flat with the straight neck that you made straight with a straight edge, you are going to need a crowning file. This is a very old one. I have one very much older, but I think I loaned it out to someone and it's hasn't been returned yet. I think that's what happened to it. Anyways, this is a medium to large fret crowning file. Okay, you should look through magnification. Now I'm going to explain this better later on, so make a bookmark here or check this area, what I'm telling you now, because we're going to come back to this later on down this video. I'm going to explain things a lot better to you. Anyways, you choose this side's medium, this side's large. It's marked right on the handle. So this is medium here, this is large. You know, you use large on basses and things like that. Some guitars with jumbo type frets you might use large. The medium side usually works for pretty much everything or anything, depending on what instrument it is. So anyways, you go, I start usually up at the nut, and I start counting. Now this file only works one direction, okay, and it's that way, away from your body, away from that beautiful body of yours. So you want to start counting, and do this also through very high magnification, because you need to be able to really see, and you count how many times you file across the first fret. Okay, let's say we filed 10 times, or well, let's say 12. What the hell? Okay, you made 12 passes here, and you can see that you have a pretty good crown on that fret. Move on to the next one. It's going to be completely flat on top, where we just flatten them. Start filing away. Keep filing. It takes a long time. And you can also, good idea is to mark that blue again. That way you can see where your crown file's taking off. And I personally like to leave a tiny little flat spot on the very top of the fret. Trying to make sure I'm still in the camera. I don't crown my frets off until it's completely rounded on top. I don't even do that on other people's guitars now. Again, we're going to come back to this subject. I'm going to tell you why and explain in depth in a few minutes. So keep that bookmark or place marked, or however, mental mark, whatever you do, because we're going to talk about this more. Anyways, mark a blue across the fret after you flattened it, and then when you come across them with this crown file, it'll take the blue off, and you can see what blue's left. When you start getting down till there's a tiny, minute bit of blue stripe across the top of that fret, stop, because you still have a little bit of a flat spot on the top of the fret. It's not completely, not fully crowned, so to speak. And I'm going to tell you why later on. Alright, that's what you're going to need to do your own frets quick and dirty, as I usually do my lessons. Once you finish and are happy with the crowns, sandpaper. Hells and hells of sandpaper. There's an 800 grit. Now, these all might be. Now there's 1,000. It's 1,000 grit. Let me see if I'm in the camera. Yeah, I think so. 1,000 grit, 1,500 grit, 2,000 grit. You probably should start with that 800 and go over each fret. You'll probably have to mask off the fretboard, or if you have masking tape. If not, you can get these little things. Don't get them from you know who, because you'll pay an arm and leg and a left nut and part of a right eyeball for them. But you can get them from them. The guys that thought of everything, makes everything, and overcharges for everything. Anyways, you can use these as you're sanding down with each grit. Start with an 800, I would say about an 800. Lay that on the fret, polish it until it's like a piece of glass, man, just like a smooth mirror. Okay, go down to the next fret, do the same thing, and you're looking at it through high magnification all this time. Keep that in mind. Always do this through as high a magnification as you can find. Like I say, it's either these or masking tape. You can take 2 pieces of masking tape. You don't need to tape the whole damn neck up to where it looks like some kind of Egyptian fucking mummy or something. You don't need to do that, man. You can take 2 pieces of tape, put one on each side of the fret, work on that fret, lift the first piece, lift it down on the next fret. Do that. It's 2 pieces of tape, man, a little wider than the neck. That's all you need if you're going to use tape. You don't need to mummify your entire fretboard to look like something from BC. So basically, that's pretty much all. If you want to use some kind of polish, I use this stuff's called Happich semi-chrome polish. I've had this shit for, oh man, I've had it for more than 30 years. $6 for a tube. I don't know if you can even still get it or not, but some kind of chrome polish or something that's kind of abrasive but very lightly abrasive. You could use car wax, you know, a rubbing compound, something like that would do a very good job. This stuff right here, it's miraculous. It's just unbelievable how it works. Unbelievable how it works. Okay, I got to take a break and get more tools, and I'm going to show you. That's the quick way, like I say, to do your frets, your own frets, polish them, do everything right down to actual polishing them. And when you get to this 2000 grit paper, once you get to that, and you've polished all the frets with that, well, the chrome polish is next, but when you get through with that 2000 grit, it's going to be, man, that fret is going to be just like a slick piece of glass by then. You know, you're not even going to feel any friction from the sandpaper. Anyways, let me get more tools out now, and we'll get into more detail about the proper and correct way that you should have your frets done. Like I say, all this shit costs a lot of money. Probably, if you only own 3 or 4, maybe 5 guitars, would want to spend as much money as this stuff costs to do your own frets. So anyway, we'll talk more about that in a minute. Hold on. Okay, so now the tools you're going to need to do your frets properly and professionally and correctly. Some of the ones are going to be the same ones. You're going to need a hammer. You want to make sure all the frets are seated properly. You're going to need a marker. You already know what for. You're going to need a wrench to adjust your truss rod. Okay, you know you're going to need those things. So let's set those up here out of the way right now. You're going to need straight edge again. You always need a straight edge. Now whether you use the ones cut out for frets or not is up to you. They probably would be, they might be a little more accurate. I don't think it's going to be any difference that you'll notice. I've never had any problem just using the standard ones without the fret slots cut into the straight edge. But that's your choice on that. So you're going to need that. Now, once we have the neck flat, have all of them marked blue, and are sure that they're all seated, instead of using this, what I like to use are these in place of it. It's as wide as, almost as wide as most fretboards, each file is. And all this is, I'll show you the medium one. All this is a diamond cut file. It's actually a sharpener. You can sharpen knives or whatever with it. But they work great, man, for frets. Now you can also get these big long square, they're like a tube, You can fill them with lead or rice or whatever for weight if you want it heavier, and they're as long as the neck. And you just run the whole bar up and down the neck. You know, they have sandpaper on them, but I find these to be much faster. I start with, if the frets have a lot of dents in them, sorry about that. If the frets have a lot of dents in them, I start with coarse, then I do medium, and then I come down to fine when I'm starting to get fairly close. Because like I say, you don't want to take any more of the frets away or off than you need to. And with this diamond cut stuff, man, you can take them down really fast. It eats those frets up. It does a really good job on stainless steel frets. I've used these on stainless steel frets before, and it was remarkably fast. So, you know, it's your choice whether you want to use something like these or the big bar, so to speak. I think I bought these at a hardware store. Like I say, they are for sharpening knives and lawnmower blades or whatever. But they do a most excellent job in flattening your frets. You want those frets completely flat. This is a very fast way to get them done. Alright, 10-4 on the files. Once you do that, you should mark them blue again if you remember what. To properly do your frets, when you flatten those frets, okay, when you use a sanding beam, one of those big square long beams, or if you use these, whatever you use to flatten your frets, once they are flat, you are going to need an arch sanding block, okay? I had them laid out. Where are they? These are just gauges to measure the arch in the fingerboards or strings or whatever. There's some of them in there are slotted, like those slotted straight edges we talked about. Some of these are slotted. You can make these pretty cheap if you want to do them yourself. I would recommend making them rather than buy them. Let's take, well, let's see what this block is, a 10, okay? Let's say if we took one of these, you can see those all right, and we wanted to make a 10-inch radius. All you got to do is take a piece of paper, okay, put a dot in the very center of the paper, measure 10 inches out from that dot, and then come all the way around. The dot being the very center, come all the way around. It'll be 10 inches from the dot out to the circle, anywhere you measure it, anywhere in the circle. That arch is a 10-inch arch. And now that's how they come up with this. I have here a 14, 15, 16, 20, and that's only one of them. There's a shitload of them in there. So anyway, you want to measure the arch of the fretboard with these, whether you make them or buy them. Measure the arch. Then you want to take a sanding block of the same arch. This happens to be a 10. I have probably 100 of, well, not that many. I have a lot of these arched sanders. And you either want to use double-sided sticky tape or sticky sandpaper. And you just stick sandpaper to that, and you start on your frets. Start with a rough grit. I would start with maybe a 600 grit and run, maybe even you could probably go 500 grit with that. Okay? If you measured a 10-inch arch in your fretboard with the things I just showed you, then you want to use a 10-inch block. Put the sandpaper on, say 500 grit, 600 grit, start running it up and down that your frets that you leveled. Mark them all blue. Once again, that magic marker is one handy mofo, baby. You'll be using it a lot doing frets, whether you do a half-assed job or do a complete well-done job. the marker is a must, and it should be a colored one because you can see it better. Anyways, mark them all blue again, and then start with your sanding block, your arched sanding block that matches the fretboard. And what this does is put that same arch back into those frets that you took out of them. Okay? When you flatten them out, man, they are flat city. There's no arch there. One's not higher than the other, one's not lower than the other, one's not arched more than the other. They're completely flat. So to properly do the right job and do it the correct way, you need to put the arch back into the frets. And that's what the sanding arch blocks is for. There again, that's a Stumac piece. I've had that a long time. I'm sure I don't know what I paid for it. I'm sure it was way too much because they thought of it. So, anyways, let me take a break here a few minutes and gather my thoughts. It's a very small collection. And there's more to come. Hold on. We just talked about. And rather than using this crown file that I showed you, well, I'll put it away later. Rather than using that again, I prefer these. Now, I got these from Stumac a long time ago. I have an old one, a couple of them actually. I can't find it. I think one of them's loaned out, and I don't know where the other one is. The handle is made of wood. It's got a flat spot there. It's very old. And these, by the way, are diamond cut fret files. The old ones I'm talking about, and the other one that I showed you, this one is not. These are diamond files. They cut very, very fast. They crown extremely fast. They have two different grits. This side of it is 150 grit, and this side is 300 grit. So you want to start with the 150, and these frets, these files, by the way, file in both directions, not just one direction. They file, like I say, they're diamond cut. You can ruin a fret really quick before you know it, so be very careful with these. Anyways, mark the frets blue again. Come up to the nut is where I start, and I start filing away and just watching that blue. Okay, now you want to file until there is just a minute trace of blue left across the top of that fret, completely, across the entire fret. You want to be absolutely sure of that. Stop there. Go to the next fret, do the same thing. Next fret, do the same thing. I'm going to explain why, but I want to come back to these fret crown files in a few minutes to make a point. Now here was where I told you to make the bookmark. Oh, I hope you can see that. Let me zoom in on that just a little bit if I can. Might help. Hopefully you can see that okay. Well, fold the paper will help too. Yeah, I think I can zoom in some more actually. I know I should do this off camera, but what the hell. Okay. Up here, this is looking down on your fretboard, okay? There's the binding. You can see the binding. You can see the fret markers. You can see the frets. Okay, this is just to make a point. Like I told you in another video, I can't draw worth a shit, man. I can barely write. But I'm trying to make a point here. When you're using this crown file, that crown file, one like it, and you go across that first fret and you leave that tiny minute bit of blue that I'm talking about, just a streamline, man, on every fret. You want to do that to maintain your flatness, levelness, okay? The point I'm trying to make is, if you don't do that and you take off too much off of this fret, you got a completely round crown on it. And maybe you leave a little bit of blue on that one by mistake, or if you're not doing it under high magnification, you just miss it. Maybe you round this one off to a complete crown again, and maybe this one you leave more blue on it than you did this one. The point I'm trying to make here, and the reason I told you to bookmark this and or mental mark it, whatever to come back to, is because if you leave the tiny bit of blue on each fret, and I'm talking a tiny little bit right on the very tip of it, you're leaving a flat spot on that fret, okay? It will take it longer to wear, for one thing, because there's more fret there touching the string, but also you will still can be assured you have kept your flatness. You've not taken more off of this fret than you have this one down here, or not enough off of the 3rd fret and too much off of the 11th or whatever. If you leave a little tiny bit of blue on the top of the fret, each fret, every fret, just try to make them the same width and appearance as you can, and at least you can be assured that that level flatness that you work so hard to get is still there, even though we have crowns now. I call them semi-crowns. You can call them whatever you like. I call them semi-crowns because it's not a really a full crown job, you know what I mean? It's not totally round on top of the fret. It does have a flat spot. And like I say, this your frets will last longer and you'll be a much happier camper. Okay, let me zoom this camera back out. That was just a point that I wanted to make. And I had to use my crappy drawing to do it. So you can go ahead and laugh at that if you like. It's okay, man. Getting back to these files, I told you I want to come back to them. This is what they call a narrow file. There's your 150 grit and 300 grit. And the way that works is, like I said, this is 150 grit, this is 300. So anyways, that's all you do to change the grit, is just pop the handle, the thing off the handle, turn it over, and put it back in. You want to start actually with a 150 grit. Do that first. It's a more coarse grit, and then switch to 300, which is not as coarse, and it will still, cut in as you're getting closer to having a crown. Okay. You might, if you're, by the way, replacing frets, you may need a pair of these. These are fret pullers. They're ground down, as you can see, very flat on the end. You start on the end of the fret and get a hold of it and pull it up across. They can also be used as clippers. If you put new frets in, clip them off as close to the binding or the fretboard, whichever the guitar has or instrument has, as close as you can get with these. You may or may not need these. If you do, like I say, if you do a brand new fret job, you pull the old frets out, put new ones in, you're going to need these. So, and they are expensive too. So, okay, I'm trying to think. Like I say, I use these to flatten the frets, to get them completely flat. Oh yeah, I remember what I want to tell you about this file. You can get these files in a narrow format, as this is. You can get them in a medium format. I have some more here somewhere. Here's the medium one. This is medium, so it says, and this is narrow. Now, I have found that narrow in these crown files, narrow is equal to medium or small with these older fret files. Yeah, I don't know what the deal is. If you get a medium fret file like this, it's probably going to be too big, too wide to crown your frets without digging into the fingerboard. That's Stumac shit. Yeah, you can complain to them about that. I would. Well, I have actually before, but they don't listen. Anyways, be careful with that because these are very expensive. These are very expensive each. So go with the narrow if you're mostly doing guitars or maybe mandolins or whatever. Go with the narrow ones because they are they're not very narrow really. They're closer to medium actually than the medium is. That's what I wanted to remind you of, okay? Now, sometimes you're going to run into nut problems and you're going to need nut files. These are just a few. I have a shitload of them for almost every gauge. Not always, doing a fret job, you probably are not going to need these, but I wanted to mention them because they're different gauges to file out your nut for the string gauge that's going to be going through that slot. And they are also very expensive, but to do a professional job the right way, if you're going to do your guitars, you're going to need nut files eventually, somewhere down the road, especially if you put new frets in. Another file that you are going to need is a fret bevel file. Here's one method of doing it. I should have showed this with the beginner cheap way of doing your frets, but I forgot. For some reason I forgot, man. Anyways, what this is it's very smooth on one surface and it has a file on the other. And the idea is, say here's your neck right here, okay, your fretboard, and you have a fret out here that's sharp or sticking out, protruding the wood, and it's just uncomfortable, whatever. Even after you do a fret leveling, you need to do this. And what you do is get this file right down onto the side of that fret, and as you, let me see if I'm in the camera, yeah. As you file that fret, roll the file over toward the fret. See what I mean? You do the other side, start across the fret and roll that file sideways like so. See what I'm saying? Can you dig it? You with me? Yo! And you got to do both sides of each fret that way. Especially, like I say, if you run your hand up and down the neck and you feel a sharp fret, or if you put new frets in and you clip the ends off with these, you're going to need this eventually. Let me see, I have another tool here. This is also used for that very same thing. This is a file. It's got, I think this is a 90-degree angle. This right here is a 90-degree angle. And if I remember right, that's a 35-degree angle. Okay? And all you do is you can adjust the depth of this file. You can also get different grits of this file too. These are the medium grit in this one right now. Anyways, let's say you did a fret job and you had to use these to snip the frets off on each end. Or if you just have, you did fret dressing and you have a fret that's uncomfortable, you feel it when you slide down the neck. All you do is lay this down with that 45-degree angle first. Lay it down on the fretboard, start up at the nut and come all the way down that fretboard with this, again, the frets. And be very careful of your depth right here, because on acoustics at the 14th fret, well, usually the 14th fret, not always, sometimes it's 12th. Anyways, acoustic guitars, you only have, I don't know, maybe 1/8 of an inch or so between the thickness of the fretboard and the top of the guitar. So you don't want that thing digging into the top of that acoustic guitar, so be very careful there. You want to set this file in enough. It has screws here you can loosen, set it deeper or set it out, set it at angles, whatever. You want to set it in far enough so when you come all the way down the fingerboard, that file doesn't hit your guitar top when you get down near the hole, because you have frets on acoustics all the way down to the hole. So be aware of that and conscientious of it when you're sliding this thing down the fretboard. Turn it over, do the other side of the frets the same way, and then you're going to want to flip it over this way and use that 35-degree angle. Same thing. Set it down at the nut. Are we zoomed out? Yeah. Set it down at the nut and file all the way down, man, to the sound hole if it's an acoustic, or to the last frets. And watch very close. You don't want to cut into the binding, or if it has binding, or the fretboard itself. You don't want to file into that much. You know, you can touch it lightly if you want the frets to be completely in uniform with the fretboard or the binding. Anyways, use the 35-degree angle last. You know, working this file also works in both directions, but be careful with that. Same thing. You start with the 45-degree angle. Do that first, and then do the 35-degree angle on both sides of the fretboard. And you probably should check, you know, both files for the correct depth, especially on acoustic guitars. You don't have to worry so much about that on electric guitars. Some of them you do, but not all of them. Should have mentioned too, you're going to need duct tape. Duct tape. It's late, man. I'm telling you, it's been hot like the hub. It was hotter than the hubs of hell here today. I think it's pretty warm. Anyways, you're going to need masking tape, especially if it's an expensive guitar, rather than use these. That's the only time that I tape up the entire fretboard when I'm doing a fret job, is if it's a very expensive guitar and I don't want to screw that fretboard up, or, you know, anything to go wrong. But that's the only time that I use this stuff. Other than that, I use 2 pieces of tape. If I'm going to use tape, usually I use these fretboard protectors. Usually, unless it's an expensive guitar, like I said, you wouldn't want to do that. Okay, so after you put the arch back in your frets with this, an arch sanding block, then you're going to go to the crown files again. You're going to mark them blue first. Once again, going to mark all the frets blue. Then you're going to start crowning, and I already told you how to do that, and the reason to leave that tiny bit of blue across the top of each fret. I already explained all that, so you already know that. You're going to crown those frets, and almost lastly comes the sandpaper again, which we already talked about. Like I say, I would start with the 800, go over each fret with 800. I would go over each one with 1000. We go over each one with 1200. I would go over each one with 1500. Am I in the camera? I don't know. Yeah, I think so. And finally, 2000. A 2000 grit is really fine, man. But you got to do that. You should do that whether you're doing a half-assed job for yourself, or if you're doing a professional job for someone. You should do all of those steps. Don't skip sandpaper, grits. You know, don't do it, man. It'll screw you up. Just go through each one. Like I said, start at 800, go through one at a time, work all the way up to 2000. And lastly comes this stuff again. You're going to polish them down. This stuff, you just rub it on and maybe wait 5 seconds and rub it off. Unbelievable how this will make your frets shine like like chrome, man. Semi-chrome polish makes them shine almost like chrome. it makes an unbelievable difference. You'll be surprised if whether you use a rubbing compound or some kind of polish like this. I think you'll be surprised the shit that will come off of your frets once you've even wiped them down, cleaned them down. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any linseed oil. I'm out of it right now. Actually, I would probably do the linseed oil on the fretboard first, and then we'll do it after you finish with the sandpaper. Linseed oil, the whole neck, put it on, wait, a few minutes, 5 minutes at most, and rub it off. Let it solidify and fill those open gaps, and that open grain fretboards really need linseed oil or something in there to protect that wood, because there's no finish, nothing there, man. It's wide open to the elements, and a lot of strange things can happen from that. So anyways, I would linseed oil the whole neck, clean it up really nice, then I would polish every fret with this, or some kind of abrasive polish, but not very abrasive. Hopefully you follow me on that. So anyways, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Hold on, I'll re-angle the camera and we'll finalize this horrendous mess. Hold on. Okay, so to finalize, we're going to go through all these steps very rapidly and the tools you need one more time. And I'm going to show you the tools one more time very quickly that you will need to half-ass dress and level and dress your frets, your own frets. And then we'll show you the tools real quick that you need to complete the job and do it correctly. Alright? Like I said before, are we recording? You're going to need a hammer. Check those frets, make sure they're seated properly, tap them down if they're not. You are going to need a straight edge and a wrench to adjust your truss rod to get, and it may not look like that at all. Like I said, it might be an Allen head wrench, could be a socket might fit it. It's hard to tell what you may need. Different instruments, are different. Anyways, you're going to need a straight edge to get the neck perfectly straight, and you're going to need this wrench to adjust the truss rod to make that happen. Okay? Once you have them flat, mark them all blue. Okay? Now this is whether you do a half-ass job or do a professional job. Once you mark it blue, I use, like I said, these instead of the sanding beams. I have a beam here. Usually it's too long for most jobs that I do. Anyways, you're going to flatten your frets completely with this. You want to measure the arch of the fingerboard with one of these. Maybe I should take these out. I don't know if you can see those very good on camera or not. If I can just get a couple of them out here and show you. Come on, man. You ever notice how things go exactly opposite of how you would like them to go when it counts? This is what they look like. Try to get it in the right light. So you want to determine, use each one, again the fingerboard, and make sure you get the proper measurements, the arch of that fingerboard. Here's the ones I was talking about with string notches cut in them. You can buy straight edges that way too, but I don't know, man. A regular flat straight edge works fine for me. Sometimes I use this if I want to know the arch while the strings is on the guitar. I'll use one of these. But anyways, that's basically what they look like. You want to take you want to measure the arch in the fretboard, figure out what that is exactly, and then determine what sanding block you'll need. This is 10, if you can see it there. My God, man, the light is bright enough you should be able to see it. Use that to put the arch back in your frets. Okay? It's important if you want to do it right. Now at this point, if it was a half-assed job, I would go to crowning and on with sanding and polishing and all that. But to do it proper and do it the proper way and the correct way and the professional way and the way that some of these guys are charging for, God, it's ridiculous. Anyways, the block puts the arch back in your frets, okay? Once you do that, well, there again, you might need nut files. I have a lot of these nut files, man, for almost every gauge of string that was ever made. You may or may not need those. Let me see. Crown files. Once you put the arch back in the neck, you're going to want to put the crown back in. Already told you how to do that. Don't get the medium. Don't get it if you're doing your own frets or mostly guitars or mandolins or dobros or Resophonic guitars might need refretted. The small is equal to what normally is called medium. So the small will work on medium and small frets. The medium is more for like a bass. My God, I don't know what large would be. I can't even imagine what they would use that on bridge cables, maybe. I don't know. One other thing I should have, I'll get to that in a minute. After you do the crowning, sandpaper. You're going to need sandpaper. And you know the grits already told you that. Go through each grit. You also probably would want to use these fretboard protectors or masking tape. That's your choice. I already told you what I prefer, when I prefer it, and how come. So you're going to polish them off with sandpaper. At this point I would linseed oil the neck really well and clean all that up. Maybe even use soap and water and a small brush. I usually have one. Yeah, here's one. I use a brush like this and a little bit of soapy water, tiny bit of soap in it. Scrub the fretboard down good and then put linseed oil on it, rub it in, let it set like 5 minutes or so, and just rub it off and leave it alone. The last step is some kind of chrome polish or metal polish or rubbing compound, usually something that's very lightly abrasive. I don't know if this, I doubt you can even buy this stuff anymore, I don't know, but any kind of rubbing compound or polish like this will put a absolute gleam on those frets, man. It's erectifying. It's erectifying, I tell you. It makes them so beautiful. So, one thing I forgot to mention, a couple of things actually. You might, or may not, need a fret rocker. That's from Neck Check guys, neckcheckguitars.com. Check them out. Their prices are decent compared to others, in which I won't mention. Fret rocker, just for those that don't know what it is, it has 4 different sides to it, different lengths. Okay, you got a long side here, short one here, medium one here, and a little bit longer one than the medium here. And all that is to up toward the nut, lay it across 3 frets. If it rocks, the middle fret is high, or one of the outside ones is low. Move it down 1 fret, rock it again. You know, it should be flat. And don't just check the middle or side. Go, you know, from side to side on the fretboard. Check, you know, say the first 3 frets. Start where about where the first string would lie, and check all the way across to where the low E string would lie, or farther if you can. There again, you know, you may have a fret popped up on one end or some crazy something happening. Anyways, you may or may not need this. When you get on down the neck, the frets get closer together. You know, you flop this thing over, to a smaller edge, then 3 frets, and then you get down to 3 frets on this when you get down near the sound hole if it's an acoustic. But on electrics, you know, they're pretty close together, especially on the 24 fret ones. You may or may not need a string action gauge. I don't know what all you'll get into. You'll probably have to adjust the truss rod back, put the right amount of relief in the neck. That's forward bow. I'm not going to get into that. This video is about frets, but you're going to get into it if you do your frets. You can watch some of my other videos, has plenty of info on setting neck relief. But yeah, you'll have to do that because you turn the truss rod to make the neck fretboard flat. Now when you're done with the frets, you got to turn it back, set the relief back to the specs, whatever the specs are for that particular instrument, and then you're probably going to need this. If you can see it, it's so shiny. You're probably going to need this to set the action on the guitar. So you may end up even having to do some saddle work, or you know, take some off the saddle or whatever. Or if it's too low, make a new saddle for it. I've got into that many times over the many countless years I have done this crap. I quit for I don't know, about 20 years or so, I guess it was. I quit everything, man. Quit playing music. I quit working on instruments. Some tools were outdated. I had to upgrade the tools when I got back into it again. I've been back into it a long time now. I don't know how many years. I'm not going to figure it out because it's late and I'm tired and it's hot. It's been hot today here, folks. It's been miserable hot. So I think that's everything that you'll need. I hope I'm not forgetting anything. Like I say, it has been a wicked ass hot day here today. It's just incredible. I think it was 97 tops at one point today. It's supposed to be hotter tomorrow. Boy, that'll be nice. Anyways, I hope that helps some of you guys that wanted to do your own frets that have asked me about this. I've had a lot of PMs over a long period of time about this. So hopefully that'll help you guys and gals to understand more of you know, the tools, the basic tools that you need to just essentially get by on, you know what I mean? And the tools that you'll need to properly do your frets the way they should be done. You know, it's a lot of money. If you buy just the stuff I showed you there, I have a lot more. But just that stuff I showed you right there, I don't know, man. I don't even know what to tell you, but it's going to be considerably up into the hundreds of dollars, if not reaching the 1K mark or more than that. The stuff is expensive. If you get good tools, I mean, you pay for them. Yes, especially if you get them off of you know who. I'm not even going to say their name. They're probably going to start chewing my ass for giving them so many thumbs down. So anyways, thanks guys for watching, and like I say, I hope that helps some of you guys and gals out. Guitar lesson coming up next. It's going to be Cattle in the Cane, I think. I've been learning, well, I've learned it already. I just need to polish up on it a little bit and get the damn video made and get it up there. Steve, I'm sorry it's taken so long. It's just been like crazy here, man. Gee, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable, man, the things that happen day to day in life that we have to deal with sometimes. It's overwhelming how you can get buried in it, you know, and before you know it, you're behind on everything. That's another story. I ain't even going to bitch about that this time. I always bitch about that. This time I'll let it go. Thanks for watching, guys and gals. Cattle in the Cane guitar lesson coming up next. I'll see you then. Cheers. And take care of yourselves, because no one will do that for you.